Hey guys, that's right. We are in Pearland. We know there are a lot of people here without power, but we are hearing from people all over our community, in Cypress, all over, who have not had power for hours. And so we've been trying to get in touch with Centerpoint. We now have Centerpoint's Kenny Mercado. He's the Executive Vice President of Electric Utility, joining us now to answer some of the questions that we've been asking this morning. Thanks for joining us, Kenny. Are you there?
Yes, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us the current situation. I know when Centerpoint said that we were going to have to do these rolling outages to protect the state's electric grid, we said that customers would be looking at having their power out from 15 minutes to maybe a little more than an hour. I mean, now we're hearing from people who haven't had power since 2 a.m. What's going on?
Yeah, as you know, the state of Texas, led by ERCOT, manages our grid, and we deliver the power to our customers all across the greater Houston area. Right now, the big challenge that we have is twofold. Number one, generation continues to be in short supply. We've seen units after units that are owned by other companies go out of power late last night, early into this morning. And when that occurs, at the same time, load is rising. The grid has to stay stable, so it has to keep generation and load together. They have to stay stable. So we originally went forward with a rotational approach where we rotate outages, but the demand for reductions in load quickly surpassed our ability to make that happen. And so now we're in the second stage, and we're really at a point where we have to keep the load out because there's not enough generation to serve the load. So our systems are working fine, but we can't rotate any longer, and the outages are going to be sustainable for the time being. And there's really only two things we can do right now. One is we got to get generation back online, and we're waiting for that. That's very, very important. And secondly, we got to conserve load. And the more that we as customers across our area, whether you're in the commercial space, you're in the school districts, you're in the whatever you may be, if you can curtail or reduce your load and conserve load, that will make a big impact in our ability, because I don't think we're done yet. I think we still have a risk to continue to look at reducing more load as the day continues to go on.
Sure, and I guess what I'm hearing you say, though, is that we have to keep the people who don't have power, keep them off, but there have been many homes and businesses and properties that never lost power. So for someone who's sitting in their home and can see their own breath, can you not give them electricity and take it off in another community that has had power the entire time?
Yeah. The difficulty is we've got a couple of situations that we have to manage very, very closely. This is a very serious situation, and we do not want the system to go down. So we've got to keep the balance. We have to keep the load demand balanced across Houston, and not only that, but balanced across the entire state of Texas. And we're watching it very closely. And so the load that is out, the purpose is to help keep the stability of the grid, and that is so important right now. And then secondly, we have some additional load that we're preserving. Because the system will take over at some point, and if the system takes over, it will be managing the frequency of the grid, and it'll respond much faster. And we're trying to minimize that right now. We're trying to ask everybody to be patient with us as we go through this process, because it is a delicate situation, and we're doing what we think is the very best we can right now to keep a balanced level of outages. But as I said earlier, there's a possibility that ERCOT will ask us to take additional load out, and we're going to have to do that very quickly this afternoon if it's necessary. So, and all those outages right now, unfortunately, they are sustainable. We can't bring them back on until we have generation to serve them. And then the last point is we do have customers that are on, but they're part of the emergency customer areas. We have water districts, we have sewer districts, we have hospitals, we have police, we have 911, we have all these important loads that we have to preserve. And that's our other most important priority, is to protect the critical loads. And we're doing what we think is the best we can to balance all of the needs of our greater Houston area.
Okay, can you tell us at this point how many people are without power, how many homes or properties are without electricity right now, since Centerpoint's outage tracker is offline completely?
Yeah, it's about 500,000. It started early this morning. It was, less than 30,000, and things were going very, very well. We were monitoring the ice and the conditions of our transmission, our distribution system, for the most part, our system has held up very well from the ice and the snow and the sleet. But the driver of those 500,000 outages really is our lack of generation. And until we get generation back online, there's not a lot we can do to address the situation. We're just as eager as everybody else is to get the lights back on as quickly and as safely as we can.
Okay, and so can you give me an idea then, why was the outage tracker taken offline? Because we're kind of trying to figure out where most of these 500,000 people are. Are they spread out? Are they mostly north, south, east, west?
Yeah, we had a technology issue around 3 or 4 o'clock this morning, and it's been repaired. Everything should be working now. So I would assume that you can go online and get an accurate reflection of the system. And if not, we're going to continue to work really hard to get that for you. It's very important. We want you to be just as aware as we are. We think we got the technology issue addressed, and we're trying to stabilize it, and hopefully you'll have it as quickly as possible.
All right, and then the other thing is people were trying to call in to Centerpoint or to their retail electric providers. They're, you know, they've been offline for without power for several hours. They're wondering, is this an infrastructure issue or am I part of a rolling outage? Are there any issues with down power lines or ice on power lines that is causing people to be without power versus the rolling outages, and sort of what does that look like?
Yeah, again, I think that the magnitude of this event is really the generation outages. That is what's driving our customer outages across the service area. We're still evaluating our infrastructure. We don't have a lot of information saying that there's significant damages from our infrastructure. We feel pretty good about it, but we're still collecting data. We can give you a little bit more information later today and give you an update on the details. But at this point, it's really been driven by the outages that have been occurring really since about 1 a.m. last night, all the way up till the last hour. Just generating plants unit by unit going offline.
Got it. And then the reason that I asked is because some were concerned that they were not able to report outages to you, either online or to get in touch with anybody by phone. So they said, well, what if Centerpoint doesn't even know that my power is out? How the heck are you going to reconnect it?
Yeah, we know the power's out. We have a meter that tells us digitally the power's out. We do want to know if there's an unsafe situation. If there's a hazardous situation such as a power line down, please report that to us in multiple channels, either through social media, our phone line now, 713-207-2222, our Centerpoint website. All that should be working now, and please continue to provide that level of detail. We'd appreciate it. And again, Amy, we want to get the power on as quickly and as safely as we can, as soon as we get generation back online.
Do you feel like, and I know you guys are doing it sounds like everything that you can, do you feel like our neighbors to the north and Encore service area, I'm not seeing as huge of delays. I'm seeing that they're saying power would be off 15 to 45 minutes. Or are you seeing that we're having a bigger problem? It's all the same grid, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's very similar. We've been in touch with our neighbors in the north. We're in about the same situation. This is a systematic issue across the state of Texas. We're all doing the very best we can. We want to get the lights back on as soon as we can, as safe as we can. So sitting here right now, I think it's pretty much consistently across the state of Texas.
All right, so your message right now for those 500,000 or so customers sitting at home who say it's like 40 degrees inside my house, what should they be doing, and how long do you see them in for this cold inside their homes?
Yeah, we need to be prepared. Like you were saying earlier, I was listening to your TV. We need to be prepared. Everybody needs to just find a place they can be where they can be warm, protect themselves, protect their family. Do common sense things. Do the very best you can to protect your families. We're not out of this yet, and the concern that I have is the temperatures are going to get colder. And if we don't have generation, there's not much I can do. We've got our resources ready to work, but we can't do the work until we have generation. It's really that straightforward. And so we're all going to have to be patient and be safe and recognize that it could be a little while before we get the power back on. And we're going to do our very best to get it as quickly as we can.
Got it. Just to recap, for the people who don't have power right now, plan to not have power for several more hours, and if you have power, there's a possibility you could still lose it as part of rolling outages, or we're going to keep it the way it is and hope that we don't have to do anymore.
That is correct.
Okay, so the people who got the initial rolling outages will sort of bear it for the rest of us for the long term. I know that sounds terrible, but
Yeah, and again,
that's sort of what
the point there is the risk is that it could get a lot worse. Right now, we're doing fine as a system for preventing it getting worse, but we're monitoring it very, very closely, and we're really sensitive to the outages, and we want to do our very best to get the power on as quickly as we can. So, yeah, just be patient with us. We'll get there as soon as we can.
you think those outlets, one last question, Kenny, you think those outlets for people reporting outages now are back up, or are you still having issues with those online and phone numbers for people to call in, or should they just not report them?
My team is saying use the phone, 713-207-2222. Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy. I appreciate your time. All right, so that was
You're
Kenny
welcome.
Mercado.